Thank you again for joining me here for part two of this interview with Frank Calabrese Jr. I hope you enjoy part one. He gets even deeper into his life story, and then he talks about his book and a few other things. So stay tuned. I'll be right back with Frank.
The day I woke up in jail, I felt good. I felt really, really good. In fact, my mother and my youngest brother came a week later to see me, and they're looking at me weird, and I'm thinking it's something with my kids, something's going on. Please tell me. You got to tell me. My mom starts laughing. She says, Frankie, we're looking at you weird because you look great. You've been in here a week. You look better in here than you did on the street. I thought this was a bad place. I go, Mom, I'm finally getting this done. I'm finally starting it. I got that weight off of my shoulders. Don't come back no more. I'll call you. I'll see you when I get home. I'll be fine. Be home in 3 to 5 years. Now, every week, there's a list that goes up on the counselor's door of where you're going. And the list comes up, and I'm going to the same prison as my dad.
Oh,
That was the only, I never, you don't suffer in jail. I didn't suffer in jail. It's your wife, your kids, your family
yeah,
members.
the outside, yeah, it's true.
So, I suffered that day. I was walking around my cell. Where am I going to go? I'm locked down. What? I can't believe this. He's going to screw everything up. He's going to manipulate me. Then I wind up in transportation, and in transportation, somehow I wind up in Terre Haute Penitentiary, and the plane for Conair keeps breaking down, and I'm there for about 15, 16, 17 days, locked down in a hole. You're traveling. So what I did was, in that hole, I dug down and made a plan for life. You know, what am I made of? What am I going to do for my family when I get home? How am I going to do all this? I'm going to straighten up. I already did. I've been in the process. But the thing was, the only man in life I ever feared was my dad. I
Yeah,
respect what a lot of men are capable of, but I don't fear him. Okay? My dad, I feared. I lost the fear of my dad in that cell. I said, I'm going to Milan, Michigan. I'm going to work on my relationship with my dad. But this time, my guard's going to be up. If he tries to manipulate me and doesn't keep his word, I'll be ready for it.
yeah.
And I wound up, so after 6 months down, I wound up in Milan, Michigan. And for the next 8 months, that's what I did. I worked on my relationship with my dad.
Well, I
And
oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, no.
No, everything that you're telling me, your Uncle Nicky has told me. The times we used to
Okay.
sit out in the yard together. We got really close. I love your uncle, And he told me
Yeah.
a lot of similar stories about his brother, your father, and some of them were amazing. This is why I wanted to interview you. I see the life that you had and what you went through, and any choices that you made for the family. And I had to come down and make that same choice. So I have a lot of respect for what you did and the way you're living your
Well,
life right now.
yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, but it was a war between my dad, but it wasn't my dad. It wasn't the man that raised us. This life changed my dad. He became this sociopathic killer
Yeah,
that would snap like this. He can be in a good mood. You look at him wrong. One time he decided that he wanted to kill his father-in-law because he had too much control over my dad's new wife. He walks me in the garage and says, I think we're going to do it here. And I'm like, do what? He says, I think my father-in-law's got to go. He's got too much control. And I'm thinking, that's his daughter. He's not controlling her. He loves her.
yeah.
He's looking good for her. But there was no more line in the sand with family members with him.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah. So, you know, we loved my dad. We idolized my dad. We would have done anything for my dad. And we couldn't believe the man he had become. It wasn't the dad. So what I was trying to say was, it's a war with my dad. There's no right and wrong. It's about survival. I got kids,
yeah.
and I got to survive against this man. And I ain't got nobody to help me. I got to do it alone. And there's very few people on the street that used to go up against this man. because he was a treacherous man.
Yeah.
His signature trait of killing you was with a rope and a knife. He loved hands-on. He'd strangle you and then cut your throat.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a firearm, he loved to pump shotguns. He loved snub-nosed revolvers. He says they're reliable and they're put up close. So this was the kind of man he was, and it was coming worse all the time. It was always about killing this guy, killing that guy. And I'm sure, Bobby, you being in the life, around the life, you've seen a lot. There are guys that get like that.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
all guys. There's a lot of guys that live the life the way it was supposed to be lived. For a businessman, their family was saved. They were doing better things. They were trying to help people. But there were some guys like my dad that did a lot of heavy work, and it changed them. It didn't help that my dad's mentor, Angelo LaPietra, was the same way. In fact, my mom divorced my dad in the 80s, and she said, your dad became that man. I never liked that man. Anytime you look at that man, Angelo LaPietra, his eyes were black. He had no soul, Frankie, I'm telling you, and he was a control freak. Okay, he could stamp like that. I never liked to be around him. She says, over the years, your dad, when I married him, he was young, he was tough, he hustled and made money. Everybody liked him. He was fun. We had a house full of people all the time. Slowly over the years, he became that man, Angelo. She goes, look at the cover of your book. Your dad's eyes are black. That's not the man I knew. He had no soul when that picture was taken. You guys wanted this. And you know what? She was right. She was right. And I'm in prison doing great time. I'm working in the commissary. I'm taking care of my dad and everybody. I'm working out every day. Time's flying. Other guys in the life are telling my dad, man, your son's doing good time. He's always taking care of us. More guys should be like that, you know. And you know, my dad would kind of get, I call it frustrated at that they weren't talking about him and they were talking about me, and that wasn't my dad. And I couldn't understand it. And you know, when my dad found out that my wife had divorced me when I was in MCC, and he always thought she was the wedge. So now he sees me doing good time. He sees she's divorced and out of the picture. He sees an opportunity to start bringing me back into this life when we get out. And I see it, and it broke my heart. Yeah. And we went back and forth, and you know, I wanted to test my dad to see where he was at. He had done a couple of things that really made me mad, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. So one day I go out in the yard, and you know, sometimes when you want to judge truthfulness in a conversation, ask a couple of questions you know the answer to for sure. That person you're sure that person doesn't know you know the right answer. So I go out there, I go, Dad, I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't fear you no more. I says, and you know what? I'm just going to be a family man when I get out. Anybody bother me, they're going to know that they're in a little bit of a war. Yeah. He goes, yeah, I kind of got that. Does that include me? I go, it all depends what side you take or what you do when we get out. I go, but you're a scumbag. He goes, what? I go, you tried to extort my brother, your son, Kurt, at Tony and Tina's wedding. What kind of dad would do that? Try to extort them? I didn't do that. I says, yeah, you did. No, I didn't. I says, really? I said, I seen it on a camera. Camera? Who had cameras? Yeah. I said, Dad, you sent an idiot. He went right under the security camera of the building he was in, and I started laughing. He was mad. He was, I'm going to come back in 2 hours and talk to you about this. He came back, all lies. That was it. I was done. Mm-hmm. And this is when I had to figure out what I was going to do. So, Mom, you know, when you want to make decisions, and sometimes your choices suck, what I did was I came out to either I wait till he gets home and we work this out, but he's good at what he does, I'll probably be dead, or contact the FBI. But I'm doing good time. I don't want to be obligated. You know, the FBI is our enemy. So what I did was I typed them a letter with gloves on, nothing personal, and offered them a business proposal. The proposal was that I would help them, assist them in locking my dad up forever. And they asked me what I wanted. I said, I don't want nothing. I said, I'll do all my time. I don't want to be obligated to you. I'll pay all my fines, no immunity. I'm only helping you against my dad, not the mob. And you know, and that's how it all started. Mm-hmm. And when I decided to wear a wire, it was hard at first because the warden didn't want to okay. Because Milan was a pretty active prison. I'll get killed, and didn't want it, but because of the threat of a court order. So what I did was I made my dad believe. I went on the yard one day without wires, and I said, Dad, I decided I want back in when I get out with you. But I got some issues with you. If we don't work out these issues, not only am I not back in, but I don't want you as my father. Yeah. And I seen his eyes light up. You know, when we first started talking on there, we were talking about me coming back in. He says, "You're going to earn it. You're going to take over the crew with Ronnie, who's running on the street right now. He gives me named the first guy who wants me to kill. And what's your issue with me?" I said, "Well, I used my uncle. I pit my uncle against my dad because my dad was so mad at my uncle. And he thought my uncle was trying to take over as our father, which I'm telling you, he was losing his mind." So, anyways, all these recordings, Bobby, were him grooming me again, re-grooming me on who's running who, what's going on, and then eventually we work on our relationship, get into these stories about who did what, and you know, he was so mad that he sent his blessing to the prison my uncle was in, to the guys there, to say, "Hey, there's stuff happening. I don't think my brother's going to stand up. I give you my blessing to do whatever needs to be done." You don't tell a couple of guys that killed a bunch of guys with your brother that he might not stand up if there's a problem. They're going to try to kill him, and they did. They wound up locking everybody down, and that's when my uncle Nick started cooperating.
Wow.
So he killed me, tried to kill my brother. I mean, tried to kill my uncle, you know, and didn't give a shit about my younger brother. You know, Kurt, I told him, "Don't plead guilty, don't plead guilty." My uncle told him, "Don't." Everybody told him, "Don't." My dad says, "You got to plead guilty. I won't get my deal if you don't. You're just going to get house arrest and maybe a boot camp." My poor brother went ahead and pled guilty. He didn't get house arrest. He didn't get a boot camp. He got 24 months in a prison camp in Oxford, which is not bad. But 3 or 4 months into the camp, the warden says, "I hate Italians, I hate mobsters," and ships him to MCC. My brother does all his time at MCC. He's in a higher security than my father, my uncle, me.
Mm.
And he gets out of prison when he goes to see my father later on after all this happened, and he knows we're cooperating, thinking my father's going to say, "You know, you did a good job. I love you. Sorry you had to go to MCC." Says, "I got bad news for you. The mob wants to kill you." My brother's like, "What?" Says, "Yeah." He says, "The mob wants to kill you because you're uncle and your brother. But if you get on the stand and lie for me, I could save you." My brother goes, "Is that right, Frankie?" I don't know. He's lying. Those guys found out they'd kill him.
Oh,
I
yeah.
go, what a nice dad, huh? What a nice dad.
Wow.
His son goes to prison for him, loses his union job because he pled guilty, and he had a great union job in my uncle's union, and that's what my dad did. So these recordings with my dad were hard because naturally it's my dad. One mistake, I'm dead. I'm on my own because, you know, when I left that office, they couldn't monitor me. I either came back 1 to 5 hours later, or the prison alarm went off. I'm dead on the yard. And so that's how I got my dad. You know, when I got on the street because of my uncle cooperating, I was just going against my dad. But what it did was it opened up this case. My uncle's memory and what my uncle was involved in, they couldn't believe it had my dad. You know, and
Yeah.
it turned into the biggest case in Chicago since the days of Al Capone.
Yeah.
They used the RICO Act like Giuliani used it in New York years earlier. Go after the organization and the heads, not individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it. And you know, my uncle decimated. Let me give you an idea. There's a little over 1,200 slayings going all the way back to the early 1900s in Chicago that were documented, but only 14 convictions. In this case alone, 18 convictions and close to 30 cases where the government finally solved them and closed the books on.
Yeah.
Some of them include Richard Kane, Sam Giancana. You know, a lot of big murders that they feel they have all the guys through all the people that the information they got over the years, and they close the books on it. They just never get public.
Wow. Hey everybody, why don't you come up to my Bobby Luisi store on Esty. We got men's t-shirts in black and white, women's v-neck t-shirts in black and white, a shot cup, the Robert Luisi Ministry coffee mug, the Bobby Luisi Show coffee mug, and of course God's Plans Revealed. And coming out right now, it'll be out in August. Pre-order your book right now from Copper to Christian. That's something. So that blew everything wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My father and the other guys were all found guilty. My father put a $150,000 hit on mine and my uncle's head. It was very, you know, the government has to tell you by law.
Yeah.
It came from a very great source, a reliant source. And my uncle was in witness protection. prison, so they really couldn't get him. I passed on witness protection. I moved my family out to Arizona because I just always felt that if my dad couldn't find me, that he might try to do something to somebody else in the family.
Yeah.
I felt, you know what, I'll be out of the way. And I didn't want to put my kids through anymore. I put them through enough already. Didn't want to do witness protection.
No, that's good. I ended up doing witness protection myself for a short time. You know,
Yeah.
it was good at the time. You know, I did.
In prison, you had to. You didn't have a choice either,
Right,
right?
right.
Yeah, because you have to go in the woods, and you know, it was how ironic that I'm living in Scottsdale and my uncle is 10 miles north of me in this prison.
Yeah, yeah, and I was with him. I was with him.
Yeah, you were with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my brother would come to go see him all the time. So we passed, I would go see him, talk about everything, and yeah. You know, my uncle asked one thing to the FBI when he was done. He said, I would love to listen to the tapes of my nephew after all the appeals and everything are done. So the FBI kept the promise. And when my uncle was done, he goes, wow. He goes, I would have never been able to pull off what my nephew pulled off. My brother Frank was a very smart man. He wasn't the man he used to be, but I would have never. What my nephew pulled off was unbelievable.
Oh, that was something. I have to ask you
So,
some. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I mean, things got so bad that my brother came to me and says, Dad's out of it. You got to kill him. You got to kill him. If you kill him, all our problems will go away. I go, Kurt, it's not that easy. First of all, I says, and I go, he didn't kill me.
Yeah.
I said, so does it make it right for me to kill him? What, you just get him out of the way? I said, that's a tough call. So we talked, and I says, all right, I'll do it. I says, but let's go talk to Uncle Nick. Because what had happened was my uncle started avoiding my dad.
Yeah, I know.
And he visited one of his bosses and told him, he's not the guy we knew. The boss handed him a revolver and said, do what you got to do. He gave him permission to kill my dad.
Yeah, I believe that. Sometimes guys get out of hand on the street and they're uncontrollable, and they rather take them out. You know.
That's so. I go see my uncle with my brother, and I tell him what we want to do. Well, so my uncle was avoiding my dad, and my dad tried to set my uncle one time with me. He wanted me to get my uncle somewhere. So when I says okay, so I went in his house, and I says, look, I says, you better not come, but he wants me to bring you somewhere, and he's going to be waiting, probably with Ronnie. So my uncle didn't come, and I said, Dad, he won't come. He just won't come. He won't go. He says, no, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So, I know he was going to try to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was trying to clean house, my dad. That's what he was trying to do when all these problems were going. All these problems he created, he's trying to clean house.
Yeah.
So I told my uncle, we want to kill my dad. Will you help me? And he handed me that gun that his boss handed me. He says, that's the best I can do right now. He said, I don't want to get involved. And he goes, I'm just staying away from him. I'm done with him. So at that point, I was like, Kurt, I don't know if we're going to. And I decided no. I just decided no, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't 100% confident it was the right thing to do. And I was just going to let everything play out and see where it went from there.
Yeah, well, it would be tough to have your father's blood on your hands. So praise God that you didn't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I got a few questions for you, Frank.
Sure.
A lot of people say the elephant in Chicago is not La Cosa Nostra. Now, what would they consider themselves over there? Of course, it's organized crime, it's mafia, but what do they consider themselves?
They call themselves an outfit. Now, from my understanding, okay, because it was way before my time, the La Cosa Nostra was in Chicago. There was a lot of Sicilians, and they had a La Cosa Nostra. But when Torrio Capone and Paul Ricca and all them, they pretty much took that over.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
I mean, there was phrases used, they turned them on their side. That's what I heard. They turned them on their side. So my understanding to that from guys were that they pretty much took it over. They did live it a little differently than New York or the original Costa Nostra, but they still followed all the guidelines. There were a lot of rules. They did not make people very easily.
I know that.
People didn't move up very easily.
Mm-hmm.
You could be of not Italian descent, and you can be a very high-ranking person in the Chicago outfit.
Right.
There were guys that were like that. One that I knew of was Gus Alex. He was Greek. He was tough. He was around the bosses. He pretty much was running a lot. Okay, that's how good and smart he was over the years. But he wasn't a made member because in Chicago you had to be 100%
Right.
Italian to be a member.
Right.
And so naturally, I'm Irish. I could never be. My dad's not supposed to bring me in. But you know, and then I had breakfast with Sammy Gravano, and he was asking me if I was made. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not 100% Italian. He goes, but your dad's Italian, right? I go, yeah. So you know, he had explained to me that in New York, you know, had changed that the father only had to be 100% Italian. Not
Right.
the mother.
Right. Well, when Patriarca passed away in '85, he still was at that old standard too. You had to be 100% Italian. So in the late
I get
'80s,
kind
that
of
started
fun.
changing. You know, because so much mixture. My kids are
Yeah.
half Irish too. You know, but
Okay.
there's so much
Yeah.
mixture now that it's hard
Yeah.
to get 100% Italian. So that's why they bent the rules a little with that. But everything you're telling me, and I know Capone was with Luciano, all these guys. He was a New York guy. And when Capone, Luciano created the commission, and they started calling La Cosa Nostra, I know Capone was on that commission. So,
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you know, your father was made, your Uncle Nicky was made, the ceremonies are close. So
Yeah.
it is, to me, still
Different
Cosa
the
Nostra,
city.
you know. But I know Chicago abided under their own rules, too. They were very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I know I talked to a lot of guys from the East Coast too, and they really were, you know, Rika, and you know, I was always told that Rika was the brains behind the outfit, that Capone was the muscle, Capone was the face, but Paul Rika was the brains.
yeah,
Later on, when Capone went away, him and Tony Carter, who never did a day in jail, these guys wanted to make a lot of changes. They were trying to go more underground. They were trying to go more legit. They were trying to curb the violence. And, you know, they got into the labor unions. And they were just really trying to do a lot of legit stuff. Um, because they knew the government now it was it was an enemy, and it was, you know, here's the government has unlimited manpower, unlimited resources. They can make all the mistake they want. We can't afford to make one. The sentences are getting longer. They're getting more tools to go after you. So it's almost like they seen this way of life was not going to be like that down the road. That you know, that the legitimate way. You know,
right.
even when they went to Central States and started using the Teamster money, I think that was the biggest threat to the government there ever was, because they're using it for legal stuff,
Yeah,
and there's nothing the government can do. And had they done it the right way, they would have been a very, very powerful, legitimate corporation now.
yeah. No, you're right, 100%. No, that's good. That was good information. I got to ask you about your book, Operation Family Secrets. How's that doing?
It's doing real well. It's actually, if anybody is interested in it, you can go on my website, familysecretstours.com, and you can purchase the book. And I can write something in there. There's a space for you to type in what you want me to write, sign it to you, and I send it to you. I'm also doing tours and motivational speaking. And it all started out as a fluke, these tours, but I'm moving them all to Las Vegas in September. I'm doing a lot out there with the Mob Museum, and we got a lot of history out there too. So I'm putting together. So I actually have it all put together to start operating in September. But yeah, if you want to go on my website, I have all that information on there. I am working on a movie project. It will be announced soon. I've been working on this for over 10 years. I had my
Yeah,
rights stolen. I've had doors slammed in my face, but I got all the right people, A-list actors, great. I got a great writer and director. John Hillcoat is the director. I've worked with a lot of A-list actors, and the guy that wrote the screenplay, Taylor Matern, he wrote the screenplay for that movie that just came out with Adam Sandler, The Hustle. The Hustle.
oh, yeah,
So he wrote a great play. And again, my story is a family story, Bobby.
right,
It's not.
right.
It's you know, And so that's what I wanted the screenplay to be. It's just that our business happened to be organized crime.
Right. Wow. I'll tell you, that's going to be great. I can't wait for that to come out. You know, and listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, Frank. This was a great
Thank
show.
you.
I can't wait to show it to my viewers. And I want us to stay in touch, obviously.
Yeah,
And,
definitely, Bobby.
and please,
Definitely. I'm sure we can reminisce a lot of stories and
Oh,
everything.
absolutely.
Maybe get a few guys together and do this online where we could just reminisce a little. You know, just almost like a shoot the shit kind of show.
Yeah,
You know?
I think we're going to be doing that soon, Frank. And you got to do me a favor. Send my love to your Uncle Nicky, please.
I will.
All right.
I will pass it on.
That's great. Brother, thank you so much for coming on. And I'll be talking with you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Let's go up to the SD store and we can get God's Plan Revealed and my new book that's coming out in August, From Copper to Christian. Pre-order now.